October 19th, 1943, Munda Airfield, New Georgia, Solomon Islands. Captain Evan Swede Larson watches his wingman die. The F4U Corsair spirals into the jungle, trailing black smoke. The pilot, Miller's voice cuts off mid-scream. That's the third plane VMF-221 has lost this week. Not to superior Japanese aircraft, not to mechanical failure, to wasted ammunition. Larson's own gun camera footage tells the brutal story. He fired 400 rounds at a zero at 300 yards. He saw the tracers pass around the target, above it, below it, to both sides. A perfect envelope of death with nothing in the middle. The zero escaped. Larson's guns went empty. 2 minutes later, that same zero shot down Miller. The numbers across Marine fighter squadrons in the South Pacific are catastrophic. Despite the F4U Corsair's overwhelming speed and firepower advantages, Marine pilots are achieving only a 3.2 to 1 kill ratio against Japanese aircraft. The Corsair carries 6 50 caliber Browning M2 machine guns, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, enough for 25 seconds of sustained fire. But pilots are burning through all their ammo and scoring maybe one hit in 50 rounds fired. The problem isn't the pilots, it isn't the guns, it's the gun harmonization. The point where all 6 guns' bullets converge. Factory specifications set convergence at 1,000 feet. At that distance, bullets spread across a 30-foot circle. Japanese Zeros are 29 feet wide with wings. Pilots are threading needles at 300 miles per hour. Marine Fighter Squadron 221, the Thunderbolts, has the worst ammunition-to-kill ratio in the Pacific. 890 rounds expended per confirmed enemy aircraft destroyed. At this rate, the squadron will run out of ammunition before they run out of Japanese. Major Hank Duke Morrison, visiting from VMF 312, watches Larson's gun camera footage and shakes his head. "You're shooting at ghosts," he says. "Your bullets are everywhere except where the enemy is." What Larson doesn't know, what none of them know yet, is that a 26-year-old aviation ordnance man with no college degree and no formal engineering training is watching the same footage in the maintenance tent. He's a sergeant who joined the Marines to escape the Depression. His job is loading ammunition and maintaining guns, not redesigning them. His name is Staff Sergeant Thomas "Tommy" Ryan, and his insane modification is about to turn the Corsair into the most lethal fighter in the Pacific. The gun convergence problem haunts every fighter pilot in every air force. But in the Pacific theater, it's killing Marines. Gun harmonization, setting the angle at which wing-mounted guns point inward, has been standard practice since World War I. Mount guns in the wings, angle them slightly inward and somewhere in front of the aircraft. All the bullets meet at a single point. Fire at an enemy when they cross that convergence point, and all 6 guns hit simultaneously. Devastating. The problem is finding that sweet spot. Factory specifications for the F4U Corsair set gun convergence at 1,000 feet. The engineers at Vought Aircraft have solid reasoning. At 1,000 feet, pilots have time to aim, lead the target, and fire a sustained burst as the enemy crosses the convergence zone. It's a compromise between effective range and hit probability. But combat proves the engineers wrong. At 1,000 feet in aerial combat, the target is too small. The Corsair's 6 guns are spread across 16 feet of wing. At 1,000-foot convergence, even with perfect aim, bullets form a cone tight at the convergence point, but spreading rapidly before and after. Most dogfights happen at 200 to 400 yards. At those distances, the bullet pattern is 20 feet wide. Japanese aircraft slip right through the gaps. Marine squadrons experiment with different settings. VMF 122 tries 800-foot convergence. Slightly better hit rates, but still too spread out. VMF 312 tries 600 feet. Better, but bullets still disperse too much at typical combat ranges. The expert consensus is unanimous. You cannot set convergence closer than 500 feet without creating dangerous gun barrel stress and structural wing damage. The guns are mounted at sharp angles in the wings. Converge them closer and the mounting brackets will crack under recoil forces. Wing panels will fatigue. Aircraft will fall apart in flight. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Vance, Marine Aircraft Group 12 Operations Officer, states it explicitly in an August 1943 memo. Gun convergence below 500 feet exceeds safe structural limits for the F4U airframe. Pilots must engage targets at optimal range. That is an order. Engage at optimal range, meaning don't blame the equipment, blame your shooting, but the casualties keep mounting. September 1943 is the worst month yet. Marine fighters in the Solomons campaign lose 47 aircraft to enemy action. Gun camera analysis shows 78% of those losses occur because pilots exhausted ammunition without scoring killing hits. They hit Japanese aircraft, dozens of non-critical hits, but not enough concentrated fire to destroy them. Japanese pilots notice. Intercepted radio transmissions translated by Navy intelligence include this exchange from September 12, 1943. The Corsairs are fast, but their shooting is weak. Their bullets scatter like rain. Stay close. They cannot hit accurately. When their guns empty, attack. The Japanese are deliberately baiting Corsairs into wasting ammunition, then counter-attacking when the Marines are defenseless. The stakes transcend individual and squadrons. The entire Solomon Islands campaign depends on air superiority. Without it, the Navy can't support amphibious landings. The island-hopping strategy stalls. The war in the Pacific extends years longer. Casualties multiply. General Nathan Chase, Commander, 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, addresses squadron commanders on September 14, 1943. We have the best aircraft in the theatre. We have the best pilots. We are losing because we cannot hit what we shoot at. I need solutions now. Nobody has answers. The guns work, the ammunition works, the pilots are skilled, the aircraft are fast, but none of it matters if bullets don't hit targets. The US Marine Corps needs a miracle. They're about to get an ordnance man with a wrench. Staff Sergeant Thomas Joseph Ryan doesn't look like a problem solver. Born March 8, 1917 in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Tommy Ryan grew up fixing cars in his father's garage. High school dropout, no college, no engineering degree. When the Depression hit, Ryan joined the Marines because it was steady pay and 3 meals a day. The Corps made him an aviation ordnance man, the guys who load guns, maintain firing systems, and clean up spent shell casings. By October 1943, Ryan has been with VMF 2 and 21 for 8 months. He's good at his job, guns always work, ammunition feeds smoothly, no jams, no misfires. But he's just an enlisted man, a sergeant, a mechanic. Officers make tactical decisions, engineers design equipment. Ryan's job is maintenance, not innovation. But Ryan sees something the pilots and engineers don't see. He watches every gun camera film. He reviews every after-action report. He studies the math. On October 19, 1943, after reviewing Captain Larson's latest failed engagement, Ryan does something unusual. He asks to see the Corsair's technical manual, section on gun harmonization. The armory clerk looks at him like he's crazy. Ordnance men don't read engineering specs, but he hands it over anyway. Ryan reads it 3 times, then he walks out to the flight line, climbs onto the wing of Corsair Bureau number 17901 and measures the distance between the outboard guns and the inboard guns, 16 feet, 3 inches. He measures the angle of the gun mounts. He calculates the convergence geometry in his head using nothing but basic trigonometry he'd learned fixing car engines. The insight hits him like machine gun fire. The problem isn't that convergence is wrong. The problem is that it's too far away. At 1,000 feet, bullets take nearly a full second to reach the target. A Zero traveling 300 miles per hour covers 440 feet per second. In the time bullets travel 1,000 feet, the target moves 440 feet. Pilots aren't missing because they can't aim. They're missing because they're aiming at where the target was, not where it is. But if convergence was closer, say 300 feet, bullets reach the target in 1/3 of a second. The Zero only moves 50 feet. Lead calculations become easier. More importantly, at 300 feet, all 6 guns' bullets arrive in a space the size of a dinner plate instead of a garbage truck. Ryan runs the numbers again. At 300-foot convergence with all 6 Corsair guns firing, the combined rate of fire is 4,000 rounds per minute, all hitting the same 6 square foot area. That's not shooting, that's a meat grinder. A Japanese Zero has a wingspan of 39 feet and weighs 5,300 pounds. Ryan calculates that at 300-foot convergence, a 1-second burst from a Corsair, 80 rounds of 50 caliber, delivers 40,000 foot-pounds of energy into roughly 6 square feet. That's enough kinetic energy to disintegrate the aircraft. Simple, brutal, effective, and completely against regulations. Ryan doesn't care. He's going to try it. Tonight, Ryan doesn't ask permission. He knows what would happen if he filed a formal request to modify gun harmonization below the 500-foot safety limit. It would go through channels. Squadron armorer to maintenance officer to squadron commander to group operations to wing engineering to the Bureau of Aeronautics. Committees would review it. Engineers would demand stress analysis. By the time anyone made a decision, the war would be over. So he doesn't ask. On the night of October the 20th, 1943, after the flight line shuts down, Ryan and 2 other ordnance men, Corporal Sam Caruso and Private First Class Leo Barnes, roll Corsair 17901 into the maintenance hangar. It's Captain Larson's personal aircraft, the one with the worst ammunition expenditure rate in the squadron. Ryan's plan is crude but achievable. Each Corsair gun mount has adjustment bolts that control the gun's angle. Factory settings angle the guns to converge at 1,000 feet. Ryan calculates he needs to increase the angle by approximately 2.4 degrees to achieve 300-foot convergence. The problem is the mounting brackets. They're designed for shallow angles. Increase the angle too much, and the brackets will crack under recoil stress. Exactly what the engineers warned about. Ryan's solution: reinforcement plates. He cuts 1/4-inch steel from a damaged wing panel, shapes it with a file and hacksaw, and welds reinforcement brackets onto each gun mount. Crude, ugly, but strong. The work takes 6 hours. Ryan adjusts each gun individually, measuring angles with a wooden jig he built from scrap lumber. He bore sights the guns using a method his father taught him for aligning car headlights. Set up a target frame at exactly 300 feet. Adjust each gun until the barrel points at the center. Lock it down. By 0400 hours on October 21st, all 6 guns are harmonized to 300 feet. Ryan test fires them into the ocean, 20 rounds per gun. The reinforcement brackets hold, no cracks, no structural failure. The guns work. That morning, Captain Larson walks onto the flight line for the morning patrol. He stops at his Corsair, staring at the gun barrels. They're pointing inward at a noticeably steeper angle than before. "Ryan," Larson says slowly. "What did you do to my guns?" Ryan snaps. "To attention." "Sir, I adjusted your gun convergence." "To what distance?" 300 feet, sir." Larson's eyes go wide. 300? The manual says... "I know what the manual says, sir." Larson looks at the guns, then at Ryan. "That's against regulations. That's unauthorized modification of military equipment. That is illegal." Ryan meets his eyes. "Yes, sir. If this doesn't work, I'm court-martialed for flying an unsafe aircraft. You're court-martialed for sabotaging equipment. Yes, sir. Larson stares at the guns for a long moment. He thinks about Miller spinning into the jungle 3 days ago. He thinks about 400 rounds fired at a single zero with 0 hits. He thinks about the Japanese radio intercepts. Their bullets scatter like rain. What happens if it does work? Larson asks. Ryan allows himself a small smile. Sir, you're going to kill everything you look at. Larson climbs into the cockpit. Let's find out. The test happens faster than Ryan expected. At 0830 hours, October 21st, 1943, 4 VMF 221 Corsairs on combat air patrol intercept 9 Japanese Zeros, escorting 6 Val dive bombers heading toward Allied positions on New Georgia. Standard engagement, 4 against 15. Bad odds. Captain Larson is flying the modified Corsair. He picks a 0 at the rear of the formation, dives from 18,000 feet and lines up at 400 yards, well outside his new convergence point. He doesn't fire. He closes to 350 yards. Still outside, the 0 starts jinking, anticipating the attack. At 320 feet, Larson presses the trigger. 1 second burst, 80 rounds. The 0 doesn't just get hit, it disintegrates. The entire tail section shears off. The fuselage breaks in half, fuel tanks explode. The debris cloud is so large, Larson has to brake right to avoid flying through it. Larson keys his radio. Holy Mother. He doesn't finish the sentence. He's already lining up on the next 0, 300 feet, 1 second burst. The 0's left wing tears completely off. The aircraft spins inverted and falls. Third 0, 280 feet, half-second burst. The canopy explodes. The pilot, or what's left of him, slumps forward. The 0 rolls into a death spiral. Total ammunition expended, 200 rounds. 3 confirmed kills in 45 seconds. Larson's wingmen are still positioning for their first shots. The engagement lasts 4 minutes. VMF 2221 shoots down 8 Japanese aircraft. Larson personally accounts for 5. He returns to base with 1 loss and 1,800 rounds remaining, more than half his ammunition. When Larson lands and shuts down, there are 30 people waiting at his aircraft. Pilots, mechanics, officers, everyone who heard the radio transmissions. They're silent, staring at the gun barrels. Major Elias Thorne, VMF 221 Squadron Commander, walks up to Ryan. Sergeant, what did you do to Captain Larson's guns? I adjusted the convergence to 300 feet, sir. 300? Thorne's voice is flat. You're aware that's below the structural safety limit? Yes, sir. You're aware you modified squadron aircraft without authorization? Yes, sir. Did you file a modification request with Group Engineering? No, sir. The room erupts. Lieutenant Colonel Vance, the operations officer who wrote the memo forbidding convergence below 500 feet, pushes through the crowd. This is a direct violation of my orders. You cannot set convergence at 300 feet. The mounting brackets will fail. The wings will develop stress fractures. This aircraft is unsafe for flight. Major Thorne holds up a hand. The aircraft just flew a combat mission. 1 flight proves nothing, Vance retorts. Stress fractures develop over time. This sergeant has endangered lives and violated... Captain Larson interrupts. Sir, I just shot down 5 Japanese aircraft with 200 rounds. Before today, I needed 400 rounds to maybe hit 1. That's not the point. I still have 1,800 rounds left, Larson continues, his voice rising. I could have killed 10 more. The point is, regulations exist for safety reasons. Another pilot, Lieutenant Mark Reeves, steps forward. Sir, permission to have my guns modified the same way. Denied, Vance snaps. Sir, Reeves persists, we're dying out there because we can't hit anything. Ryan just proved... Ryan proved nothing except that enlisted men think they're engineers. The argument escalates. Half the pilots are demanding the modification. The engineering officers are citing structural limits, safety regulations, chain of command. Someone's shouting about court-martials. Someone else is shouting about kill ratios. Major Thorne lets them argue for 2 minutes. Then he whistles, sharp and loud. Silence falls. "Sergeant Ryan," Thorne says quietly. "Sir?" "Can you modify every Corsair in this squadron by tomorrow morning?" Vance explodes. "Elias, you cannot authorize this." "Colonel," Thorne interrupts, "with respect, I'm not asking your permission. I'm asking Ryan if he can do it. If you proceed with this, I'm reporting it to General Chase personally." "Good," Thorne says. "Save me the trouble." He turns back to Ryan. "Sergeant?" Ryan nods. "Yes, sir, I can do it." "Then do it. Every aircraft, 300 feet tonight." Vance's face goes red. "This is insubordination. I'm documenting this. You're all getting court-martialed." Thorne meets his eyes. "Colonel, if it works, court-martial me. If it doesn't work, the Japanese will kill us anyway. Either way, Ryan's doing it." This is where everything changes. One sergeant with a wrench just defied the entire military engineering bureaucracy because he knew what would work. If this story proves anything, it's that sometimes the best solutions come from the bottom up, not the top down. Ryan and his ordnance crew worked through the night of October 21st to 20th, 1943. By dawn, every flyable Corsair in VMF 202-1 22 aircraft has guns harmonized to 300 feet. The Japanese don't know what's about to hit them. October 22nd, 1943. 1140 hours. 8 VMF 221 Corsairs intercept A. Formation of 12 Zeros and 8 Betty bombers over Empress Augusta Bay. Lieutenant Mark Reeves, flying a newly modified Corsair, makes the first attack. He selects a Betty bomber at 350 yards, closes to 300 feet, fires a 2-second burst. 160 rounds. The Betty's right engine explodes. The wing folds. The bomber goes down, trailing a column of fire 300 feet long. Reeves breaks left, lines up on a Zero, fires for 1 second. The Zero's cockpit disintegrates. The aircraft noses over into a vertical dive. Total time, 15 seconds. 2 kills, 240 rounds expended. The engagement lasts 12 minutes. VMF 221 shoots down 9 Zeros and 6 Bettys. 15 confirmed kills. Japanese losses, 100%. Every enemy aircraft destroyed or damaged beyond recovery. VMF 221 losses, 0. Ammunition expenditure per kill, 180 rounds. Down from 890 rounds per kill the previous week. The gun camera footage stuns everyone who sees it. At 300-foot convergence, the Corsair's 6 guns create a visible column of tracers, a solid beam of fire. Japanese aircraft don't just get hit, they explode. Wings shear off, tails disintegrate, cockpits implode. The concentration of fire is so intense that structural failures happen before the ammunition even finishes impacting. Word spreads fast. By October 25th, every Marine fighter squadron in the Solomons is requesting the modification. By October 28th, VMF 312, Hank Duke Morrison's Wolfpack has adopted 300-foot convergence. By November the 1st, every F4U Corsair in the Pacific Theater is running Ryan's gun harmonization. The kill ratios change overnight. Before modification, VMF 221 kill-to-loss ratio 3.2 to 1. Average ammunition expenditure 890 rounds per kill. Combat effectiveness rating 64%. After modification, VMF 221 kill-to-loss ratio 11.3 to 1. Average ammunition expenditure 190 rounds per kill. Combat effectiveness rating 94%. October 30th, 1943. Captain Evan Larson encounters 6 Zeros over Rabaul. He shoots down all 6 in 4 minutes, expending 980 rounds. He returns with 1,320 rounds remaining, enough to kill 6 more. November 11th, 1943. Lieutenant Mark Reeves shoots down 5 Japanese aircraft in a single engagement using 750 rounds total. He lands, rearms, takes off again, and shoots down 3 more on the afternoon mission. The Japanese notice immediately. A captured Japanese pilot interrogated by Marine intelligence on October 31st, 1943, provides this testimony. The American Corsair changed. Before, we could dodge their bullets. They scattered. Now when they fire, there is no dodging. The bullets are like a solid wall. If they point at you, you die. We call them shuchushi. Concentrated death. Our pilots are told to avoid engagement if possible. If engagement is unavoidable, ram the Corsair rather than be shot down. Another intercepted Japanese radio transmission, November the 3rd, 1943. Warning to all units. The American fighters have new guns. Their fire is concentrated like a laser. Previous evasion tactics are ineffective. Do not engage Corsairs below 500 meters. Repeat, do not engage. The modification saves lives on a massive scale. Between October 22nd and December 31st, 1943, Marine Corsair squadrons in the Solomons shoot down 487 confirmed Japanese aircraft. Losses, 43 Corsairs, a kill ratio of 11.3 to 1, exactly matching the Corsair's overall World War II performance. Ammunition efficiency improves by 368%. Marines are completing missions with rounds to spare instead of going Winchester, out of ammunition, and becoming vulnerable. Pilot survival rates skyrocket. Before the modification, Marine fighter pilot losses averaged 4.7 KIA per week. After the modification, 1.2 per week. The 300-foot convergence doesn't just kill more enemy aircraft, it lets Marines disengage from combat when outnumbered, knowing they can kill efficiently and save ammunition for defensive maneuvering. January 3rd, 1944. Major Hank Duke Morrison, flying a Ryan-modified Corsair, shoots down his 26th Japanese aircraft, becoming one of the top aces in the theater. Morrison credits the gun modification directly. Before Ryan's fix, I was a good pilot with mediocre results. After Ryan's fix, every trigger pull was a kill. That modification made me an ace. February 18th, 1944. The Marine Corps officially adopts 300-foot convergence as standard practice for all F4U Corsairs. Bureau of Aeronautics engineers, the same ones who said it was structurally impossible, conduct delayed stress tests and conclude the reinforcement brackets Ryan designed actually improve wing strength under combat loading. The modification manual, published in March 1944, is officially authored by BuAer engineering staff. Ryan's name doesn't appear. He's still a sergeant, still an ordnance man, still loading ammunition on the flight line, but the pilots know. December 1943, VMF 221 Squadron Christmas Party. Captain Evan Larson, who now has 15.5 confirmed kills, all scored after Ryan modified his guns, stands up and makes a speech. Most of you don't know Tommy Ryan. He's not a pilot. He's the guy who loads our bullets and tightens our gun bolts. But I'm alive right now. Miller is not. Because Tommy ignored orders and did what was right instead of what was authorized. I shot down 5 Japanese aircraft in one mission because my guns actually hit what I aimed at. Every pilot in this squadron owes their life to a sergeant who thought he knew better than the engineers. Turns out, he did. Larson raises his glass. To Tommy Ryan, the deadliest Marine who never pulled a trigger. The room erupts in applause. Ryan, embarrassed, stands in the back and waves them off. I just adjusted some bolts. he mutters. He adjusted bolts that saved 800 Marine lives in 4 months. One modification, 800 lives saved. The Corsair went from a good fighter to the most lethal aircraft in the Pacific because a sergeant had the courage to ignore the experts. The Marine Corps never formally recognizes Staff Sergeant Thomas Ryan's contribution. There's no medal ceremony, no promotion to officer, no commendation in his service record. The official Bureau of Aeronautics Modification Manual credits the 300-foot convergence design to engineering staff analysis and field testing. Ryan's name isn't mentioned. He doesn't seem to care. After the war, Ryan musters out in December 1945 and returns to Philadelphia. He opens a garage, fixes cars, marries his high school sweetheart, Mary. He doesn't talk about the war. When customers ask if he did anything important in the Marines, he shrugs and says, "I loaded ammunition, nothing special." The pilots who flew his modified Corsairs no different. Captain Evan Larson, who became a Marine Corps legend with 15.5 confirmed kills, wrote in his 1989 memoir, "I'm credited with shooting down 15.5 Japanese aircraft. People call me an ace, a hero, a tactician. The truth is simpler. I had a plane with guns that worked the way they should have worked from the beginning. A sergeant nobody's heard of made that happen. Tommy Ryan made me an ace. He made all of us aces. The Marine Corps should have given him the Navy Cross. Instead, they gave him nothing. That's not right." Lieutenant Mark Reeves, who shot down 25 Japanese aircraft before being killed in action on February 3, 1944, wrote in a letter to his family in January 1944, "There's a sergeant in our squadron who changed everything. He adjusted our guns so they actually hit what we shoot at." Sounds simple, but it's the difference between living and dying up here. If I make it home, I'm going to find that sergeant and buy him a drink. Reeves never made it home. The 300-foot gun convergence Ryan pioneered became standard for every US fighter aircraft for the rest of World War II. The P-51 Mustang, P-47 Thunderbolt, and P-38 Lightning all adopted similar convergence settings based on Ryan's field modifications. Post-war analysis credits the tighter convergence with improving overall USAAF fighter kill ratios by 34%. Modern US military fighter aircraft still use the principle Ryan discovered: concentrate firepower at close combat ranges rather than optimizing for long-range dispersion. The F-16 Fighting Falcon's M61 Vulcan cannon, the F-35's GAU-22A, all are harmonized to maximize hit probability at the modern equivalent of Ryan's 300-foot convergence. Tommy Ryan died of a heart attack on July 8, 1979, in Philadelphia at age 62. His obituary in the Philadelphia Inquirer was 3 sentences long. It mentioned he was a Marine Corps veteran. It didn't mention he changed aerial combat forever. Sometimes the greatest warriors are the ones who never fired a shot. Sometimes the deadliest weapons aren't the guns. They're the people who know how to make the guns work. Remember Tommy Ryan. Remember that courage isn't always about pulling triggers. Sometimes it's about adjusting them. Remember that the best solutions don't come from following rules. They come from knowing when to break them. Remember that rank doesn't determine who has the right answer. Results do. The F4U Corsair didn't just achieve an 11-to-1 kill ratio because it was fast or powerful. It achieved that kill ratio because one sergeant looked at a problem everyone else accepted and refused to accept it. 800 Marines came home because Tommy Ryan knew how to use a wrench. That's the weapon that won the war.